You know, I got to tell you, this question from Amanda, I really like because it actually, I don't know how to say this nicely. It kind of upset me, but you'll see why as I go through the question. Ready? You reminded us all to eat our vegetables. Yes, yes, I did, folks. I mean, wow, what a reach that is. Hey, eat your vegetables, eat protein, drink water. Mind blowing. I've been getting in more veggies at work via soups, and yes, I buy the cans with the easy pull tops. I do too because it's much easier and it takes a lot less self-discipline to open that can. And as I was eating one of my soups, I commented to my boss, getting my veggies, to which he responded, "Oh, I don't think that's what Dan John meant." He went on to say that the soups are high in sodium and that he took your veggie recommendation as raw vegetables and salads. I don't know why that he would have done that. Now, I'm not ripping on your boss at all. Your boss seems like, hey, well read, he reads me. But really, when I work with a typical American, in the last week, somebody reported they had never seen the President of the United States eat a vegetable. I want you to think about that. Oh, by the way, another person reports they've never seen him read a book, but we don't want to comment on a person who doesn't read books or eat vegetables. But never eating a vegetable? So here's the issue I run into all the time, Amanda, is most Americans, well, we are slided into most Americans are obese right now, right? We're on our way to it. If it hasn't already happened, we're there. And someone like myself says, eat vegetables. And then now we start with that question that comes up at workshops all the time. I will say, folks, eat vegetables, eat protein, drink water. And it's true, Amanda. Hands come up, and this is what happens. What do you mean by a vegetable? And I hate that question. Because all that is a pushback question. That's when I write online that you should sleep 8 or 9 hours a night, I will get a comment from somebody. I have 2 kids. How am I supposed to get 8 or 9 hours of sleep a night? Here, I'll tell you how. Turn the TV off. Don't let your kids watch TV. Get those screens, don't let them do this all night long. If your kids are sleeping, you can sleep. So this, I'm not saying it bothers me, but what this did is reminding me of growing up. When I was young, I do love my family. I absolutely love my family. But my family had this ability to pee on any goal you had. To the point that I finally learned, I was probably in the 9th grade, to stop talking about my goals, except with my sister Corrine, which is why when I tell the story about how in the 9th grade I decided to go to Utah State University and throw the discus for Ralph Maughan, the only person I told was my sister Corrine. And I don't know if she's ever told anybody else. But one of the things I wanted to do as a kid, when I worked as a bouncer in a bar, is and Greg Winslow and I were going to do this, we wanted to open a beer bar that only had like 3 or 5 different taps at 3 or 5 different locations. And here was the idea, is that everything was done with self-serve, with cards. It was a great idea. And I went and talked about it. And my family said, well, it'll be long hours. You'll stay up all night. And all they did was find problems with my idea about opening my own bar. When I want to do different goals, the thing that would always come up was problems. They would pee on everything I did. My brother, who died last June, when I finally got my first starting position in American football, I came home and I was so proud. And he said, well, everybody ends up starting in football. And I remember thinking, what was I thinking of saying something positive? So let's do this. Your boss is right. I recommend raw vegetables, 300 pounds of raw vegetables a day, or 400 pounds if you can get that in. You're also right. I love the convenience of those darn pop-top canned vegetable soups where you go like this. I sneak in, honestly, probably 1 or 2 of those a day. It is, sometimes when I'm just like, I got to get something in, it's so much better than potato chips, he says, until he catches himself. And he reminds himself that if there's potato chips, while I'm cooking the vegetable soup, I'll probably be knocking it down chips. So, now back to her question. To which I responded that I have no blood pressure issues and thus am not concerned about sodium intake. Oh, by the way, here's how to get around that, Amanda. I buy the low sodium veggie soup. I also buy the low sodium V8. And on Sunday mornings, if you take a low sodium V8 and you add vodka to it, you have a healthy morning drink. I also commented that I know you have referenced in your books and podcasts that you make stews to get your vegetables. So my question, or what I would appreciate hearing you riff on, well, you got your riff, is what do you mean when you say eat more vegetables? In what ways are you getting your 8 different vegetables a day? Brian will tell you, anybody's ever come train with me will tell you. When I go to breakfast over at Landmark after our workouts, I order the veggie omelet. If there's they have 2 days a week, they have veggie beef soup. And I almost most of the time and then I have, it's called Leo. Leo is one of the great wait staff over at Landmark. I have everything, we call it Leo carbing, where you add on to everything, whatever else you have, they pour on all the vegetables they have at the place. I also, anytime I make any kind of soup or stew, I'll just pour the bag in. One other good thing to do, and Amanda, this isn't a bad idea, try to go to an all-inclusive place sometime. And as you serve yourself, I've noticed this in Okinawa, Hawaii, Jamaica, and a few other places, that if you eat the cultural foods of the area, almost always the food is heavy in beans, light amounts of rice, and tons of vegetables. Costa Rica's breakfast is basically that, with eggs in it. And so for me, one of the things I'd like you to think about is the historical cuisines of most places. If you will, eat more native. And when you come back from these different places, and I ask the wait staff and the chefs all the time about this, they'll always have these little regional foods that are just loaded with vegetables and extremely inexpensive. I believe in Jamaica it's called kalaloo, and we would probably call it like a kale or spinach, but there's also a varietal of peppers in it and onions, and it's just a breakfast side salad, a breakfast side dish, a side salad, and it's very simple. So those are the ways I do it. And thank you for a great question. And you and your boss need to sit down and hash out this argument about whether or not soup in a can is a vegetable or not.